Hello everybody and welcome back to Spacedock. I'm Joanna and there are a number of decades-long franchises in sci-fi with lots of different people putting their own mark on them through movies, TV shows, games, books and more. The quality of these varies wildly, but that's just the nature of having so many entries. The two stars of the show are of course Trek and Wars, but there's others like Warhammer 40k, Gundam, Ghost in the Shell and so many more. But what I want to talk about specifically is the way later entries work to bring together the new ideas that came before them, particularly in the Alien franchise. Because, well, Alien Romulus is coming out the week I'm writing this and it got me thinking. Just like those other franchises, Alien is filled with books and games and many sequels and prequels since the original came out in 1979. It's also had crossovers, most famously with the Predator franchise, spawning tons of successful comics and games and some not quite as successful movies. But what I find cool about Alien is, well, the takes on adding new horror elements to the titular creature itself. Pretty much every installation put their own twist or change on it in order to give the audience something new. Aliens made them a swarm with a queen and a hive. 3 had the runner spawned from an animal, giving rise to the idea that they take on elements of their host. Resurrection had weird clone hybrids and Sigourney Weaver making Ron Perlman break character with her backwards basketball throw. The games and comics and crossovers built on those ideas for the Xenos, so we got things like the Pred aliens, the acid spitters and things of that nature, or this xenomorph crocodile dinosaur that Batman fights. I told you there were crossovers. This also happened with other elements of the setting outside of the Xenos themselves, like Alien Isolation building upon the concept of synthetics by making the utilitarian working Joes. These are just such a perfect idea. They slot in brilliantly into the existing universe, and their rubbery blank faces are creepy as hell. This makes them a fantastic low-level antagonistic force, leaving the xenomorph to be the high-level antagonist. Ridley Scott had also returned to the franchise by this time and fleshed out the background of the engineers, giving a bit of an origin story to the Xenos themselves. You can decide for yourself if the mysteries underpinning the setting really needed to be explained. They didn't, but it's happened, so we gotta live with it. All these things are neat in their own separate ways, but to tie things back to what I said earlier, we need something that came afterwards to bring them together. Many of the games and crossovers did that already with the different Xeno types, and here's Batman fighting a Joker Xeno hybrid. But really, what I want to gush about is how well the 3-person co-op game Fireteam Elite pulled in a whole bunch of the newer ideas and seamlessly included them into the existing setting. It starts out much like Aliens does, with colonial marines checking out a distress call from an orbital refinery. And pretty much right from the start, it's already brought in the Seegson style synthetics, as you can see them hooked up to chargers all over the place. And there's even a couple of similar ones that are part of the marines themselves, filling in your fireteam if you're playing solo. Anyway, as you progress through the missions, you meet the various Xenos, from the little runners from the 3rd movie all the way up to the more dangerous special enemies like acid spitters, or ones that sneak around and ambush you like the one from the original movie or Isolation. And there's big tanky ones too. Then you progress down to the planet to find out what's going on and things start getting a bit Prometheus-y. All the while you're fighting aliens and taking on armed synthetics. And it just works. And then deeper in, things get even more Prometheus-y when you find an actual engineered dry dock with a whole ship in it, carrying goo canisters and lots of weird, pale creatures like the Neomorph from Covenant. And it still works! Nothing about this mix of new ideas from multiple sources across many decades ever feels out of place or weird, because it's all ultimately coming from the same DNA. And it's not just the aliens either. The Marines themselves also have new tech and equipment like the mapping orb from Prometheus, and a bunch of cool weapons to use, many of which can trace their lineage back to things like the Colonial Marines technical manual, like the particle beams and lasers that the Sulaco and APC was equipped with. Clearly, the dev team was deeply passionate about the setting, and the game is their love letter to all things Alien, old and new. My only complaint is that some of the weapon designs are a bit generic sci-fi-y, but they still look really cool, and you can very easily tell apart their different manufacturers based on the visuals. That's a nice touch. And this isn't the only recent Aliens game to do this. Dark Descent added its own things to the setting, from civilian items to a new, smaller APC. We've really been spoiled recently with these fantastic games doing such a brilliant job of building on and unifying what came before. And with both a new movie and a TV show coming out, and maybe a Fireteam Elite sequel in the works, us Alien fans have a lot to look forward to. You can support Spacedock by joining our Patreon, where you can get our frigate and space fighter design reference books. Alternatively, you can support us directly through YouTube by becoming a channel member. Thanks to our supporters, and thank you for watching.